Excuse me, you know there's something going around, so I woke up with no voice this morning. So we're praying to the mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu that somehow we can glorify him today on this fourth day of our Purushottam Brat Festival. Ganatimarandasya Gyananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Ittadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah. Yam Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Birahakatara Ajuhava Putraiti Tanmayatayotaravo Binedus Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya He Mabhadibhyaschavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahapremarasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihina Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Govinda Dam Hey Krishna, Hey Saketi, Govinda Dama, Sham Sundar Shikhanda Shekhar, Smarahas Murali Manohara, Radhikar Sukhamama Kripanidhe, Supriyacharna King Kurim Kuru. Tavaivasmi, na jivami tayavana, iti vikyaya devi tvam, namam charantikam. First of all, I have my sastang dandavat puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadiya Paramaradhatama, Guru Pada Padma, and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Ishto Tarasata Sri Rupanuga Acharyavarya, Sila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, and to our entire Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vancha kalpatarvasa kripasmati Vaishnava.
Srila Gurudev ki.
By the causeless mercy of Sri Gauranga, we are observing this Purushottam Vrata. Today is also Memorial Day, the day of Smaranam, day of remembrance. So, in this month of Purushottam, we are remembering the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham. He has manifested these pastimes first and foremost, primarily, to taste himself the essence of Prem, the essence of Krishna Prem, which is experienced by Srimati Radhika, and Anusangik, incidentally, by manifesting these pastimes. He is awakening and nourishing and perfecting the greed of all the devotees on the path of Raga Nuga Bhakti. Prema Rasa Nirjas Kurite Ashwadan Raga Marga Bhakti Loke Kurite Pracharan. Sri Krishna considered Chirakali nahi kari prema bhakti dhan bhakti bina jagatera nahi avasthan. For a long time, I did not distribute Braj Prem. But without the presence of Braja Prem manifesting in this world, then Bhakti Bina Jagatera Nayavastan, the whole universe is useless. It is useless. Why? Athabumbi Duja Shrishta Vanashrama Vibhagasa Swanustitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhi Haritoshanam. All activities, even the worldly activities of Varnashram Dharma, their ultimate purpose is to please the Supreme Lord. Yet, Ete Changsa Kala Pungsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, Swayam Bhagavan, Swayam Rup, the original form of God. Ananya Pekshiyad Rupam, Swayam Rupa Sa Uchate. That original form of the Supreme Lord, from whom all the other forms are dependent. He is not dependent on them for his opulence or his sweetness, but rather all derive their opulence and sweetness from him. That Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna of Braja, he cannot be satisfied by Vaidhi Bhakti, making offerings according to rules and regulations. He is satisfied, he finds pleasure only in that love of Brajbasis, which is Nirmala Rag, completely pure. They don't even know that he's Bhagavan. He also forgets that he is Bhagavan. So in that swabhavik, natural love, which is so powerful that it controls him. Krishna is Bhritya Vasyata. He is controlled by the love of his devotees. And only when, though he is Parameshwara, the supreme control of everything, when he is face to face with a love which is so powerful, his heart melts, he forgets that he's God and he becomes controlled by that love. Only then, samsiddhi haritoshanam. Hari is satisfied. So Sri Krishna is Purushottam. And in this Purushottam Mass, we are remembering the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he is relishing the highest prem of Radhika, and incidentally, he is impelling all the living entities to enter into Ragamarg. Now, in Raganuga Bhakti Sadhana, Smaranam, remembrance, is a mukhya anga. It is the main limb. Krishnam smaran janam chasya prastham nija samihitam tattat katha rachaschaso kuryad basam braje sada. Rupa Goswami Pad describing Raganuga Bhakti Sadhana. That means the bhakti that follows in the wake of the loving moods of the residents of Braja. It follows their rag. So it is anuga means following. So the practice which follows in the wake of the rag, the spontaneous love of Brajabasis, is called raganuga. So in this sadhana, then it is performed Krishnam smaran janam chasya. One should remember Krishna, but not alone. Remember Krishna along with his associates, and especially that associate whose mood one aspires to attain. To have a mood in the same category as that associate. And tat katha ratas chaso. One should remain always absorbed in the katha. That means discussing the sweetness of the loving relationship between Sri Krishna and that devotee. And Kuryat Basam Brajaye Sada. And one should take shelter of Braja. If one cannot take shelter of Braj, Vrindavan, physically, then at least in the heart, one should meditate. Tato Vrindavanam Dayat Paramananda Vadanam. I am in Vrindavan, where supreme bliss is spreading everywhere, which is more brilliant than millions of suns, which is filled with beautiful flowering trees and creepers. Always meditate. I am in that Vrindavan. So smaranam, remembrance, is prominent in Ragamarg. But there is a caveat. That is that Srila Krishnacharya Thakur has described in Ragavatma Chandrika. Atra raganugayam yan mukasya tasyapi smaranasya kirtan adhinatvam avashayam bhaktavyam. He's saying, even though in Raganuga Bhakti, the anga of Bhakti Smaranam, remembering Krishna and his associates, is mukhya, it is the main practice. However, avashayam bhaktavyam, it must be said, it must be emphasized that this smaran is kirtan adhin. Kirtan adhin. Kirtan, as you know, means chanting. And adhin means it is subordinate to. It is under the control of. Just as the whole world is under the control of Bhagavan. So this smaran is under the control of the power of kirtan. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he has said, Kirtana prabhave smarana huibe. The remembrance of Krishna will come by the prabhav, the power, the influence of kirtan. In other words, atasi Krishna namadi nabhavad grayam indriya. The name, form, qualities, associates and pastimes of Krishna are not accessible to the material senses, but sevan mukhi. When a person becomes attentive, not distracted, not with the intelligence scattered everywhere. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekiha kurunandana. Krishna said those are on this path. Their intelligence is one-pointed. So, if a person, his mind is absorbed in chanting Harinam, his mind is the Sevan Mukh. His body and senses are Sevan Mukh. Everything is engaged in service without distraction. Sevan Mukh hi jivado swayam eva spuratyadha. Then Krishna's name, his form, his qualities, they are spurati. That means they manifest. Swayam, themselves. They manifest themselves. It is not within our power. That power is not within us. No one can imagine anything that they have not experienced. Narada Muni in Srimad Bhagavatam describes, he says to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Sradat swananubhutorto namana sprashtum ahati. You should know for certain. You should have trust, have faith. Sradatsva. Have faith in this fact. An anubhutarto. The artha, the objects, which are anubhut, which you have not experienced. Na manaha sprastum ati. The mind cannot touch them. The mind can only reproduce by thoughts, by imagination, the samskars, the impressions of things we have experienced. So one who has not experienced Krishna cannot remember him. We're discussing the tattva of smaran, remembrance, on Memorial Day. So one who has not experienced Krishna cannot remember him. Then what hope is there for us? So Krishna appears as Vigraha, and especially in the form of Naam, the holy name. Krishna descends from the heart of Guru, from the lips of Sri Guru, and into the ear of the disciple. Then the disciple should do the Aksha Abhyas, repeat the syllables of this mantra. And simply by Aksha Abhyas, simply by repeating the syllables, then Sumatim Bhajamahe. Then in the Rig Veda it is said, Sumatim Bhajamahe, we will attain the very beautiful realization of Krishna only by Aksha Abhyas. Om Asya Jananto Chidvivaktan Mahaste Vishnu Sumatim Bhajamahe Om Tat Sat. Why? Because here the rishis of the Rig Veda, they're saying, Oh my Lord, we know that you exist. We know this, but we don't really know you. But how wonderful it is that Nama Chid Viviktan Mahaste Vishnu Sumatim Bhajamahe, simply by Aksha Abhyas, repeating the syllables of your name which have been placed into our ear, transcendental mantra from the lips of Sri Guru. Simply by repeating these syllables, then we will have a very beautiful and clear vision of your form, and gradually we'll come to know your qualities, associates and pastimes. So Swayam Eva Spuratadha. So when the person does, Jiva Goswami Pad describes Smaranam, he said Manasa Anusandhanam. When a person is chanting and the spurti of Krishna is manifest in their heart and they investigate that internally. Manasa means in the heart, by the heart. Anusandhanam, investigation. They investigate the beauty of the form of Krishna which is self-manifest by the power of Kirtan. That is called Smaranam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in his pastimes, he has taught this power of Sankirtan, the power of the holy name. He said, Anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purna amritasvadanam. When the devotee's chitta has become purified, Sankirtana hoiti papa samsara nashan chitta shuddhi sarva bhakti sadhana udgham. From Sankirtana hoiti, by chanting the holy name, papa samsara mocham, one sins, the pap, those sins are that by which we become engaged in worldly activities. When our mind and the vague, manasa vague, the urge of the mind and the urge of the tongue and the urge of all the senses are pushing us to engage in worldly activities, this is the reaction of pap, of sins. Hiya yasya haridasa karmana manasagriya. Niklasvapyavastaso jivan muktasu uchate. If a person in this world, by body, mind and words, is always engaged in the service of Krishna, then that it is considered that person is jivan mukta, they are liberated, even while still alive in this world. And if a person is not engaged by body, mind and words, always in the service of Sri Krishna, then it is due to the pap. The prarabdha karma is unfolding. So Mahaprabhu said, by this sankirtan, papa sangsara nashan, the entanglement in the world is dissolved, destroyed. Chitta suddhi, and the heart, the chitta becomes clean, and then sarva bhakti sadhana udgam. Then there is the awakening of bhakti sadhana. So, only engaging the body somehow or other in some activities that we think are bhakti, while being in ignorance with an impure heart. By this, one may make some sukriti, but it's not yet sadhana bhakti. Because sadhana bhakti is characterized by anyabhilashta shunyam. There is no trace, no smell of any worldly desire. Jnana kama dinavritam. It is not covered by the desire for liberation. It is not covered by the desire for some reward-seeking activity. And just simply the statement not covered means that the engagement of bhakti itself causes the spurti of Krishna. Otherwise, if there is not anubhav, realization in the engagement, then that means that it is jnanakana anavrita, it is covered by some worldly faith in worldly things. So, sarva bhakti sadhana udgam. When the heart is purified, actual sadhana awakens. And when this sadhana awakens, Krishna prem udgam, love for Krishna arises in the heart. Prem amrita ashwadhan. These are Mahaprabhu's own words. Mahaprabhu himself is explaining Chaito Darpanamarjanam, this verse. Prem amrita ashwadhan. There is a taste of the amrita, of love. Krishna prapti. Sevamrita samudre majjan. There is a direct attainment of Krishna, and one becomes majja, immersed in the ocean of a sevamrita. So this is so beautiful. We discussed this in regard to the vigraha tattva. We cannot say that there is a purna ras aswadan, purna madhurya amrita aswadan. There's a full taste of nectar unless the antakaran, the chitta is tasting, the jnanendriya, the senses are tasting, and the karmendriya, all the active senses are tasting. So this is what Mahaprabhu is saying here. There is Krishna prapti, one attains Krishna by his spiritual senses. And sevamrita samadri, one engages in service. That means by the active spiritual senses, one is tasting the amrita. So this is the meaning of Anandam buddhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamrita svadanam. So in Bhakti Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami Padi, he said, Atayeva yapi bhakti kalau kartavya tada kirtanakya bhakti samyoganeva. In this Kali Yuga, even though a person practices other angas, limbs of bhakti, he may practice hearing, he may practice archan, he may practice smarnam. But whatever angas of bhakti the devotee is doing in this age of Kali, kalau kartavya, it is obligatory, it is the obligatory duty tada kirtanakya bhakti samyoganaiva. Everything should be done united with Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Smarnam is never separate from Kirtan. It arises by the power of Kirtan. And our chant to the deities should always be done along with Kirtan. Now, we're discussing the glories of the holy name. Srila Sanatana Goswami has said that Kirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, is superior to Smarnam. Why? In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there he said, Mandyamahi Kirtanameva Satamam Lolatmakaika Swaridi Spuratsmite Vachi Swayukte Manasi Suto Tata Divyatpran Apyapakurvat Atmavat. The meaning is, the residents of Vaikuntha are saying, Manyamahe Kirtanameva Satamam. We consider the Kirtan, chanting the holy names, to be the best practice of bhakti. Why? Lolatmakaika Swaradis Paratsmrite. Because the mind is lolatmaka. It's the nature of mind to be restless. It's the nature of mind to be flickering. It's not a stable medium in the conditioned state. But if someone will chant the holy names, then Vachi Swayukte Manasi. When you chant the holy name with your voice, then Swayukte Manasi, the heart becomes united with that sound. And so, not only is the tongue engaged, Shruto Tata, the tongue is engaged, the ear is engaged, and the mind becomes united with that sound. And Spurat Smrite, the divine sound of the name, makes the spurti of Krishna in the heart. And not only that, if you remember, if you do smaran, your tongue is not engaged, your ear is not engaged, and your mind may be restless also. But when you chant, your tongue is engaged, your mind is engaged, your ear is engaged, but divyat paran ap upakurvat atmavaj, and other persons also hear. And those persons who are hearing that kirtan, atmavaj, they can get the same benefit. In other words, if a person is chanting and the beautiful form of Krishna makes his spurti, vision in the heart, if someone is listening to that person's kirtan, they can also have that internal spurti by the power of kirtan. So how glorious is it? Then Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad said, Krishna Shanana Vida Kirtaneshu Tannama Sankirtanam Eva Mukhyam Tat Prema Sampads Janane Swayam Drak Shaktam Tata Shrishtatamam Matam Tat. Now, among many types of kirtan, because you can have Roop Kirtan, Gun Kirtan, Leela Kirtan, among the many types of kirtan, then Nam Sankirtan is supreme. It is the topmost. Because the supreme wealth of Krishna Prem manifests in the sadhak's heart very quickly by the power of Nam. This Nam Sankirtan, Tat Prema Sampads Janane Swayam Drakshaktam. It is independent. It does not depend on any other limb of bhakti in the matter of causing the appearance of love for Krishna to appear in the heart. And therefore, compared to Smarnam and all the other limbs of bhakti, Nam Sankirtan is considered the foremost of all. It is the best of all. And this is why when Sri Krishna developed the greed to experience his own sweetness, his own Rupa Madhuri, his own Venu Madhuri, his own Prema Madhuri and Leela Madhuri, his 4 types of sweetness which are not present in anyone else. When Krishna had the greed to relish these things, then Sri Krishna took shelter of Harinam Sankirtan. That is his Gora Leela. So during this Purushottam Brat festival, we've already discussed the pastime of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he relished the Purna Rupa Madhura Amrita Aswadan. He tasted the full nectar of Sri Krishna's, the sweetness of Krishna's form. How did he taste that? Through the verse, Vikshala Kavritamakam Tavakundalasri. We discussed it yesterday. And previous to that, on the first day of the festival, we discussed how Mahaprabhu relished the Purna Rasamadhuramrita Aswadan, the full sweetness of Krishna's taste, his Adaramrita. How did he do that? By honoring Mahaprasadam and also through Srimad Bhagavatam. Gopya Kimatra Dayam Kushalam Smavenu, this verse of Venu Geet. So now we're coming today to discuss the Purna Shabda Madhuramrita Ashwadanam, the full tasting of the sweetness of Krishna's Shabda, Krishna's sound. In Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so absorbed in Harinam and the smaran, the remembrance which is arising by the influence, by the power of the holy name, that nothing can distract him. His remembrance is so dense that nothing can enter into it. Even one day, the devotees, they came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "Oh, the brother of Ramananda Rai, Gopinath Patanayak, he has been arrested by the prince, the son of Pratabhuda Maharaj, and they're taking him to be executed." Mahaprabhu said, "Why?" He said, "Because he insulted the prince." Mahaprabhu said, "So? That's what happens. If you insult the royal family, you get executed. Why are you bothering me? If you bother me again, I will leave Jagannath Puri and I will go to Alanath, to the village of Brahmagiri, and take shelter of the temple of Alanath Dev there." So Mahaprabhu threatened his Dutiya sannyas. He already left all of his associates in Navadvip. That was his first sannyas. And now he was threatening his second sannyas to leave all the associates of Puri also and go to the Alanath. And so we see that Mahaprabhu, it sounds as if he's cruel. But no. He's showing an example for us. If someone will come with a distraction, then one should try to protect the treasure of his own mati. Mati means the sanctified state of consciousness. When the consciousness has been purified from the gunas and it is fixed on Krishna, this is called mati. However, asadvarta vesya visija mati sarvasva harani. Hearing and talking and thinking about the news of this world is like a vesha, prostitute. And just as a prostitute takes her client's money, so in the same way, the discussion and thinking of worldly things, it steals the wealth of mati, our concentration. So by this pastime, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us a teaching to protect the sanctity of our focus in pure bhakti. Otherwise, this discussion, how Mahaprabhu is relishing Krishna's sweetness and pastimes, it is very, very far, far away. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Padi said that when Mahaprabhu was in Puri, he was so absorbed day and night. He would speak with Saurabh Damodar, Roy Ramananda, about the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, the poetry of Jayadev Goswami's Geet Govinda, Bilva Mangal Thakur's Krishna Kan Amrita. And in this way, they would speak until late into the night. And then, when the night was, it was quite late, Saurabh Damodar and Roy Ramananda, they would make Mahaprabhu lie down, and they would come out from his small room, the Gambhira, in the compound of the palatial home of Kashi Mishra, who was the guru of the king of Orissa. So, and they closed the doors. One door was bolted from the inside, and 2 doors were bolted from the outside. There were 3 entrances into the Gambhira. And Saurabh Damodar Goswami, he would return to his ashram. That is called the Bada Ashram on the Satasan Tila. There is a hill close to the ocean, which in ancient times, there were the asanas of the Saptarishis, the 7 great sages. Vashishta, Vishramita, Bharadwaj, Gautram, Kapil. And Saurabh Damodar Goswami would go there, and Ramanand Rai would go to the Jagannath Bala Bhatika. His place was near the beautiful garden on the Grand Road in Puri. So when they left, Govinda, the personal servant of Mahaprabhu, he would sit outside the door, and from outside he could hear that Mahaprabhu was not asleep, he was still awake. And he was loudly chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Atri, Bharadwaj and Jamadagni, there's all the 7 rishis now. So, Mahaprabhu was loudly chanting, and Govinda was outside listening. And then, suddenly, the chanting stopped. There was no sound at all. So, what happened? That's strange. So then, Govinda, he did not want to open the doors himself and go inside. He called for Saurabh Damodar Goswami. So in the middle of the night, Saurabh Damodar Goswami came from his ashram, and he asked him. Mahaprabhu was chanting very loudly, then suddenly just stopped. So he was worried. Anishta sankini bandhu hridayani bhavanti. It is said, where there is love, then there is always some anxiety that something undesirable might happen. So Saurabh Damodar Goswami came there and moved the bolts and opened the door, and there was empty room. And so now they became in great anxiety that Gauranga Mahaprabhu has disappeared. He has finished his pastimes in this world and left us. They all thought in this way. But they could not face it. They could not accept it. Perhaps he's somewhere. He could be somewhere. So Saurabh Damodar Goswami took flaming torch, and with other associates with flaming torches, they set off and began to wander around the streets of Jagannath Puri at night, looking for Mahaprabhu. So what happened? When Mahaprabhu was chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Suddenly Mahaprabhu heard the sound of Krishna's flute. This is called kirtan. If you chant but you don't hear the sound of Krishna's flute, it's this a question mark. Is this really kirtan? So Mahaprabhu heard the sound of Krishna's flute and immediately ran to see Krishna. Well, how is that possible? 3 doors were bolted, and also there were 3 high walls around. I don't, if you've been to Kashimishravan, it's designed according to Vastu, Vedic Vastu. So you have the inner portion of the house, then there's a garden area, then there's a wall, and then there's another area, there's another wall. There are 3 high walls around the house of Kashi Mishra. But miraculously, Mahaprabhu was gone from there. How is it possible? It's just like during the Rasa Leela. When Krishna played his flute, Braj Gopis became mad. And some of the gopis, whatever they were doing, they dropped and they tried to leave. But their mother-in-laws, their father-in-laws, their husbands were standing there with a big stick and stopped them, checked them, and they fainted. And from the intense separation, the Nityasiddha gopis, they were not stopped by anyone, they just... But those who were sadhakas, who had become siddha by sadhana previously, they were sadhana siddha gopis. Some of them, they got checked by their in-laws. But because they had associated with the eternally perfect gopis, therefore by their association, when they were checked, then the fire of separation burnt away their last remnant of the contamination, the very last. And even though they were checked and they fainted there and then, they experienced themselves that they had arrived there on the bank of the Jamuna. They were the first to arrive. Yogamayam upashritaha. Yogamaya did it. So similarly, even though Mahaprabhu, he's doing the pastime of a sadhak, but he is in the highest perfectional stage of relishing Radharani's bhav. But it shows that no one can be checked. Yoga Maya can make the impossible possible. So though Mahaprabhu was inside, 3 doors were locked and 3 walls were there. When he was chanting Harinam, he heard the beautiful nectarian call of Sri Krishna's flute and he ran. And the doors and the walls, nothing could stop him. Yogamaya just transferred him and brought him right there to the Jagannath temple. And just as he arrived near Singadwara, Singadwara is the gate with the lions, the main entrance there. So just to the left on the corner there are the drains that come from the kitchen. And when they wash the kitchen, then the rice that was spilt during the preparation, it becomes washed out and it comes out there and the rice collects. And there are small cows from the Tailanga district. They're called Tailangi cows, miniature cows. Their bodies are like ordinary cows, but their legs are very short. They're very sweet. And they always congregate there on that side of the Jagannath temple, eating the rice, the Mahaprasad that came out from the kitchen. So Mahaprabhu, he just somehow or other, by the miracle of Yoga Maya, found himself there and he fainted and fell to the ground. And those small miniature cows, instead of standing around in the night licking up the rice, they all became attracted to the fragrance of Mahaprabhu. And the whole group of cows were all around Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and licking him. So, Chaitanya, the Swarup Damodar with his flaming torch with other devotees, they were wandering around Puri and they gradually came to that place and they saw the cows and they saw Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu was in such ecstasy of separation that his arms had withdrawn into his body. His legs had withdrawn into his body. His head had withdrawn into his torso. He had a kurma roop. That means like a turtle. Just as a turtle withdraws the limbs into his body. So Mahaprabhu, being absorbed in the mood of Radhika in separation from Krishna, he's had this extraordinary sattvic bhav. Just as a devotee may have hair standing on end, horripilation, tears, the faltering of the voice, trembling, these are sattvic bhavs. So Radhika has such high Adiruddha bhav that it has extraordinary sattvic bhavs. And Mahaprabhu was experiencing these extraordinary bodily transformations. So they saw Mahaprabhu in this extraordinary condition, lying on the ground. There was foam coming from his mouth. Tears were flowing continuously from his eyes. His body had become white like a conch shell. And he was completely stunned in transcendental bliss. The cows were all around him and they were sniffing him. And Swarup Damodar and the devotees were grabbing these little cows and trying to pull them away. But they didn't want to go. They would pull them away and the cows were coming back. So they decided, let's try to bring him back to Kashi Mishra Bhavan. All the devotees, they picked him up in that condition and they carried him back to the house of Kashi Mishra and they put him down there on the cloth. And then everyone began to chant loudly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as they were chanting, Mahaprabhu's arms came out, his legs came out, his head came out, and he resumed the original form in sannyasi roop. And he opened his eyes, he was looking around, and he said to Swarup Damodar Goswami, where have you brought me? What is this place? He could not understand. And then Mahaprabhu said, I heard the sound of Sri Krishna's flute, and I went to Vrindavan, and there I saw in the Goshta. Goshta means the meadows of Braj. The beautiful green meadows of Braja, where Krishna takes his cows to graze. I saw Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj was there, and he was playing his flute. And by playing his flute, he called Shrimati Radhika. And Radhika came running there. And then Krishna took the hand of Radhika and entered into a kunj. I was there. And I followed Radha and Krishna into that kunj. Why? Aneka mantra nada manju nupura ravaskalat samaja radha hangsa bangsa nikwanati gaurave. The ankle bells of Radhika, they tinkle in such a way. The tinkling sound of the ornaments is like a powerful mantra, akarshan mantra. It is more beautiful than the warbling of the king of swans. The Radhika also has the mekala, a belt of bells around her waist. Krishna also has waist bells. nupur, ankle bells, bangles. And so when Radha and Krishna met and they were walking together, the tinkling of their ornaments was so attractive that when they went into the kunj, the sound of their tinkling ornaments dragged me behind them. What is the subject today? It is the Shabda Madhurya Amrita Aswadana. This is the pastime where Mahaprabhu is having the experience of relishing the sweetness of the sound of Krishna and associates. So he said, I was captivated by the jingling of their ornaments and it drew me into the kunj. When I went inside the kunj, I saw Radha and Krishna were sitting together, surrounded by the Sakhis. And they were all laughing and joking with each other. And the sound of their talking and the sound of their laughter, it captivated my ears. This is doing the Shabda Madhurya Amrita Ashwadan, the tasting of sound here. So first the flute caught him, then the sound of the ornaments, and that brought him into the kunj, and then the sound of Radha Krishna and the Sakhis' voices and their laughter. And Mahaprabhu said, and these sounds, they were bringing the joy to my ears. This is called the Chari Shabdamrita. 4 types of sound: flute, ornaments, voices, and laughter. Krishna's voice and the laughter. These 4 types of, they're called the Chari Shabdamrita, the 4 nectars of sound in Krishna's Leela. And he said, and just as my ears were experiencing the joy of these 4 nectars, then you all made a huge sound and brought me here by force. And now because you have brought me back here, I can no longer hear the sound of Krishna's flute, the sound of his voice, the sound of his ornaments, and the sound of their laughter. And so now, Karna Trishnai Mari Para Rasayana Suni. And now my ears are dying of thirst. Previously Mahaprabhu said, my eyes are like the chatak birds, dying of thirst. My tongue is dying of thirst. Now he's saying, my ears are dying from thirst. So Mahaprabhu said, Karna Trishnai Mari Pada Rasayana Suni. My ears are dying of thirst. Please save the life of my ears by singing a verse. So then, Swarup Damodar Goswami, he began to sing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What did he sing? This verse. So this is the verse today. Karstrangate kalatpadamrita venugita sammohitaya charitan achalat trilokyam Trilokya sobagamidam chaniriksharupam Yad godvijat trumamriga pulukanya bibran. Again, we should think that Swarup Damodar Goswami, he's not remembering a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, but being moved by the waves of Mahabhav emanating from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and understanding his mood, he was carried into that transcendental, eternally existing moment where the Braja Gopis are glorifying the sound of Sri Krishna's flute. It is eternal moment in eternal reality, and it was manifest to them, and they were entering into that. Srimad Bhagavatam is not a book. Srimad Bhagavatam is not ink on a page. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Banmayi Murti. It's the sound incarnation of Krishna himself directly. So just the general meaning. Ka means what? Stri, woman. What woman? In the second line, na chalet, would not fall, would not be deviated from the Arya Charita. Arya Charita means the good character of noble Aryan religious persons. Anga, the word anga means limb. Just like your body has limbs. So, in Sanskrit, if you call someone who is very close and beloved to you anga, it means you are so close to me, you are like a limb of my own body. So it's a very tender address to Sri Krishna. Even though the gopis they have a pranay rosh, that means they have a loving anger. They're a bit angry with Krishna as they speak this verse. Kastranga te, O anga. What woman would not be deviated from the path of noble, spiritually progressive life? Sammohit arya charitanna chalet trilokyam. Any woman in the three worlds, what to speak of us gopis, they would not become completely bewildered by Venu Gita, the song of your Gita. Kalapadamrita. Venu. Kalapadamrita means the nectarine notes of your flute. There is actually a patantar, another version of this verse. Some old copies of Srimad Bhagavatam say Kalapadayata. Padayata. Not Kalapadamrita, but Kalapadayata. Here, ayata means like pranayama. Means pranayama means the lengthening. So, in other words, the kalapada, the notes of your flute are long, drawn-out notes. And because Krishna is so emotional, the notes there's a vibrato in the notes. It's not an artificial vibrato, but it's Krishna's own trembling of ecstasy coming through the notes. And the notes are aroha and avaroha. He's playing the scale of the rag. Rag and scale is not exactly the same thing, but the ascending notes of the rag and the descending notes of the rag, with the vibrato which is caused by the trembling of his emotion. So what woman on earth or above in heaven or in the lower planets would not be deviated from Dharma when they hear this beautiful nectar of your flute singing, Krishna? Trailokya sobhagam idam chaniriksharupam. And when they see your beauty, which is Trailokya sobhagam, it is every beautiful thing in all the three worlds that's derived its beauty from you. They're not saying that as a metaphysical fact, even though it's metaphysically true. But gopis are saying poetically, indicating that Krishna himself is millions and millions of times more beautiful than any beautiful thing in the three worlds, or even all the beautiful things in the three worlds put together. Trailokya sobhagam idam cha niriksha rupam yad go dvija druma mriga pulakanya bibram. Because when you play your flute and when you manifest your beauty at that time, what to speak of ladies, stri, go, even the cows, dvija, even the birds, druma, even trees, even mriga, deer, pulakanya bibran, their hairs stand on end and they begin to tingle and tremble. So this is just the general meaning of the verse. And Krishna himself, in the form of Mahaprabhu, taking shelter of the Shabda Brahma of Srimad Bhagavatam, is now experiencing the Chari Shabda Amrita Madhurya, the sweetness of 4 types of sound of Sri Krishna through Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is the meaning? This is actually the verse that comes immediately after the verse we discussed yesterday, when gopis said, Vakshasri Aikaramanam cha bhavamadasya, seeing your beauty, Krishna, we have all become your maidservants forever. Then Krishna said, look, gopis, if you become my maidservants by only seeing my beauty, then you become the laughing stock of all chaste ladies and religious ladies. All the chaste ladies of the universe, they'll just laugh at you, just seeing my beauty, and that's it. And you leave everything. So in reply to this, gopis are saying this verse. No, no, no. It is not only your beauty, that is one thing, but also kastrangate kalata padayata venu gita, the playing of your flute. Yesterday it was discussed how Krishna is like a hunter. And who is he hunting? Brajagopis. So hunters, one method of hunting is using a net. But there's another method of hunting. For hunting deer, the hunters have a flute. Because deer are very shy, but they're very susceptible to being captivated by sweet sounds. So the hunter goes in the forest and plays a melody on his flute, and then the deer, instead of being shy and running away, they just tilt their head to one side and raise their ears, and they become absorbed in that, and then the hunter can catch them. So gopis are saying, no, we will not become the laughing stock of any other chaste ladies. Why? Because we are not the only ones. In the whole universe, Trilokam, what chaste lady would not be deviated from moral behavior? By hearing your flute. Previously in Venugit, Gopi said, Krishnam nirikshavane tutsava rupa shilam, shrutva chatadkonita venu vivikta gitam, devyo vimana gatayasmara nuna sara, brasyat prasuna kabara, mumuhu vinibhya. O Sakhi, the sound of Krishna's flute and his beauty, they are such that they are vanitutsava. Vanita means a young woman who is filled with love. Anuraga Purna is called a vanita. And for such persons, Krishna is utsava. His beauty and flute song is a festival of joy for such young ladies who are full of love. You know that when Krishna is returning in the evening, or sometimes when he's out in the forest and perform the pastimes, then the demigods, hearing the sound of his flute, they gather in the sky, and the demigods shower flowers on Krishna. But gopis are saying, oh, they are not only taking the flowers and showering the flowers on Krishna, but rather the wives of the demigods. Their hair is tied in a beautiful braid, and their braids are decorated. They put flowers from heaven in the various folds of their braid. But when the wives of the demigods, and the demigods themselves even, their husbands, hear the sound of Krishna's flute, they come flying in their aeroplanes. It's so attractive. And when those demigoddesses hear that sound and they see the beauty of Krishna, they have matayita bhav. Matayita bhav means if someone hears and remembers their beloved, that they become overwhelmed in ecstasy, and it manifests in the body. And one of the symptoms is that if the hair is tied in a tight braid, it comes loose and the braid opens due to extreme calm, extreme desire to meet with that hero, to embrace that hero. So gopis are saying, the demigods come along with their husbands, and when they hear the sound of Krishna's flute and see his beauty, then the wives of the demigods, in so much ecstasy, their braids open. And then the flowers fall from their braids, and that's the flowers falling from the sky. At first, they were throwing the flowers from their hands, but they became so overwhelmed with desire that they forgot to drop those flowers, and that these flowers were falling. And instead, they dropped the flowers of tears. from their eyes. Brasha prasuna kabara mumuhu vinibhya. Mumuhu means they faint. Another symptom of Matayita Bhav is if a lady, she ties her skirt with the drawstring, but then she becomes afflicted with intense desire, the knots start to get loose and the cloth begins to slip. And so the gopis are saying, you are telling us, oh, all the chaste ladies will laugh at you. No, no, no. Even the demigoddesses who are very chaste, they're sitting in the laps of their husbands. They're fainting, their hair is coming open, their cloth is becoming open. And gopis are saying, how fortunate they are. Only we gopis are unfortunate. Why? Because we are kept here in our homes by our mother-in-laws. But even foolish deer, Danyas Mamudakatiopia in Arinya Eta, even foolish deer in the forest can run and follow Krishna in the forest. So those who have a lower birth than us, they are more fortunate than us. And those who have a higher birth from us, they are the demigoddesses. They can also fly there in their airplanes and see Krishna. And here we are in the same jati as Krishna. But we're in the middle. But we have been skipped in the distribution of good fortune somehow or other. When good fortune was distributed by the Creator, He was giving to everyone lower than us and everyone higher than us. And somehow we got jumped over. Alas, alas. Gopis are thinking, look, when Krishna plays his flute, then the demigods and demigoddesses, they come in their aeroplane. See. Gandharvika Girdhari Ju Ki Jai. The demigods and demigoddesses, they come flying there in the aeroplane. And when the demigods see their wives fainting and their hair coming open, then the demigods think, oh, my wife is so fortunate. So fortunate. I am fortunate to have a wife who has such love for Krishna. But the gopis say, if our hair will come open and our cloth will slip and we will faint, then what will our husbands think? They'll become angry. So we are most unfortunate. But these demigoddesses, they're so fortunate. They have such love for Krishna. Now we can say, as a matter of fact, that those demigoddesses, they're called the Devangana. Devangana. They don't have Samartarati. They don't have love like gopis. They have the Sambhogi Chamai Bhav. Like Kubja. They don't have Samanjasa Rati of the queens of Dwarka. They don't have the Samata Rati of the gopis. They have Sadarni Rati, like Kubja. Like the Pulindi girls, the Aborigine girls at Govardhan. They also have the Sadarni Rati. Like the Mathura Ramanis, the young ladies in Mathura, when Krishna goes there, they're all attracted to him. But they don't have love like gopis. They have Sadarni Rati, like Kubja. So Mathurangana, Devangana, Vidarbhangana, the young ladies of Vidarbhapuri, when Krishna went there also to capture Rukmini, also. They're attracted to Krishna. However, because it's the nature of prem, sarva bhuteshu ya pasyat bhavam atmana, bhutani bhagatma ishu bhagatotama, that one who has love for Krishna thinks, I have no love, and they see their own love in everyone else. For this reason, the gopis are glorifying the Devis, the demigoddesses. Say, oh, they have so much love, they're so fortunate, but not like us. So gopis are saying, Kastrangate kalapadayata venugita. Who would not give up the Arya path, the path of ethics, morals, dharma, progressive life? Everyone will give up. What to speak of us, we're only human ladies, but the demigoddesses are giving up. Because this is the nature of the Venunad, the sound of Krishna's flute. Just as fire is present in wood, and when the fire manifests, then the wood burns to ash. So anurag is present in the hearts of the gopis. And when Krishna plays his flute, it ignites the anurag and it burns to ash every other consideration. It burns to ash the lok lajja, their shyness, their Vedic dharma, their adherence to Aryapat is all destroyed. So Shukadev Goswami Pad said, Nishamya Geetam Tadananga Vardhanam Brajastriya Krishna Grihita Manasa Ajagmo Anyonyam Alokshituddhama Sayatra Kanto Javalola Kundalay. That when Krishna played upon his flute, Nishamya Geetam, upon hearing it, Tad Ananga Vardhanam, the sound of the flute, it increased the influence of Ananga. So, in Brajbasa it is said, Prem ju kohyata man purati kam kahata ratiran. Anga anga vyapata rahe tako kahata anang. The meaning is that prem, when love is in the heart, it's called prem. Then when it manifests into the action of the body, it's called kam. And then when that love pervades every single pore, anga anga vyapatare, it's totally pervading every pore of the skin of the body, then it's called ananga. Rupa Goswami Pada said this, Varamratas Rupasri Swam Swarupa Mano Nayet. That when anurag comes to Mahabhav, then the love itself, it cannot remain in the heart. It overflows into the pran. The pran overflows throughout the entire body. And even the body cannot contain it. And it overflows from the body also in the form of the ujjwala, the shining. Therefore, Madhurya Ras in Parakya Rasa is called Ujjwala Rasa. The love of Rukmini and Satyabhama is not called Ujjwala Rasa because it never comes to the state of Ananga. Ananga means without a body. Just like Sri Krishna said, Tannavidan Mayan Usanga Badha Diya Swapmanam Atastadhiram. Gandhavaka Kiridaju ki jai. Yatha Samado Munyobdi Toye Nadya Pravista Eva Nama Rupe. Krishna told Uddhav, the Braja Gopis are so attached to me that they forget everything. They even forget themselves. They have no consideration of this life or the next life. And just like a yogi goes into samadhi and cannot remember his own name or form, or just like a river enters into the ocean, and then no one calls that river by name anymore. You go to the ocean, no one says this is the Ganga and Jamuna, and this is the ocean. So in the same way, when gopis hear the sound of Krishna's flute, they're like yogis going into trance. They enter into the ocean of prem, forgetting their own form and their own name. That is ananga. They have no awareness of their own body. Their buddhi, their intelligence becomes like a kamadhenu, a wish-fulfilling cow that exists only to fulfill all the desires of Sri Krishna. It's something astonishing. And it manifests by what? When they hear the sound of Sri Krishna's flute. Actually, it is swabhavik, it is natural. But in the course of the lila unfolds that the flute is the uddipana, that which inflames their love. So nishamya geetam tadananga vardhanam brajastriya Krishna grihita manasa. Their hearts were captured by Krishna. They are brajastriya. Here the word stri is there. Kastrangate, which stri? So here, especially brajastri, they are brajastri because braja, the word braja means brajati. She goes. Because brajati, they go from their homes to the forest. Radhika goes from Yavat to Nandagaon, back to Yavat, and then from Yavat to Suryakund, and from Suryakund to Radhakund. From Radhakund back to Yavat, and then in the night from Yavat to Jamuna Pulin, the bank of Jamuna in Vrindavan, and Seva Kunj. So because the gopis are always moving everywhere to serve Krishna, so especially their Brajastri, Brajati. Ajagmu Anyonyam Alukshidodjama. The gopis got up and they ran. Ananyam Alukshidodjama. Unseen by others. This also shows the intensity of the prema awakened by the sound of Krishna's flute. What is that? That Sakhis, all gopis, they have their friends. And they don't go anywhere by themselves. They get together with their Sakhis and they go. But the intensity of the anxiety. Krishna played the flute in such a way that he expressed above, "Oh gopis, I cannot live without you for another second." And so they felt anxiety that Krishna may die without us. And so even without thinking of their Sakhis, they just left everything, unseen by others. They headed there. Sayatra kanto javalola kundalai. Sayatra. Yatra means where. Yatra means where, but it's used, yatra is used for things where you are, yatra, in this place. And if you're talking about that place over there, then you use tatra. So yatra. Shukadeva Goswami says yatra, that means that Shukadeva Goswami, he was already there and he was watching the gopis arrive. This is the indication. Sa yatra kanta to javalola kundalai. The gopis arrived here, in this place. In this place. That means that Shukadeva Goswami is the parrot of Radharani. So he had already flown there and was in the tree, above the tree where Krishna was playing his flute, and he was seeing all the gopis come. So he said, Sayatra Kanto. When? Oh, not 5,000 years ago when Krishna was performing the Rasalila. Yes. But Shukadeva Goswami, as he's speaking, he's experiencing the Rasalila in real time as he's speaking right now. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said to Parikshit Maharaj, "Oh, now the gopis are coming." How are they coming? Javalola kundalai. They're coming quickly, so their earrings are trembling because they're coming quickly. All their earrings are Javalola kundalai. Why are their earrings trembling? Because the earrings are thinking. The wealth of the Braj Gopis is their dhairya, their patience, their satitva, their chastity, their pativrata. The wealth of any lady is the inner heart. But the sound of the flute has plundered the treasures of the gopis' hearts. They've lost everything. They lost their shyness, even their awareness of who they are. It is, Krishna is chittachur. Brajera rakala goba brinda palat chitta hari Bangsidari playing the flute, chitta hari, he steals the chitta. So the treasures of the gopis' heart have been stolen. All the ornaments are thinking, if the treasures the gopis keep in their hearts were so easily stolen, then what to speak of us, who are on the treasures on the outside? If the inner treasures have been plundered, then what to speak of us, the treasures on the outside? So they were afraid and trembling. And they were also thinking that in the loving pastimes of Krishna and the gopis, then their necklaces become broken, their ornaments become broken. So they were thinking, now all gopis are coming to meet with Krishna. What will happen to us? We'll all become broken. So all the earrings were trembling. So this is the meaning. Kastranga teika kalapadaya tabenu gita. Oh, it changed. A minute ago I saw it said kalapadamrita. Yeah, I think both versions are. I think one version is Bhagavatam and one version in Chaitanya Charamrita. So both are covered there. The long drawn out notes of Sri Krishna's flute. Who will not give up everything and run to you? So gopis are saying that we cannot explain how beautiful is your flute song and how beautiful is your form. We cannot explain. But so by kaimutik nyai means by the logic of how much more, kim uta. In this figure of speech in Western literature is called a fortiori. A fortiori. If you say, oh, this man, when he was 5 years old, he could lift 200 kilos. So that means, well, if he could lift 500, so many kilos when he was a child, then how powerful he is today. So you give one example, but it's to point at something much more. So kim uta, what more? What more can we say? So gopis are saying, what more can we say? Trilokya sobagamidam chaniriksha rupam yad godvija druma mriga pulakanya bibram. What to speak of ladies? What to speak of men? Even animals, deer, birds, cows. No, even trees, they all tremble by the sound of your flute. So kim uta, what effect it will have for us gopis. Not only us, but all ladies in the entire universe. Why? Because Vivida Gopachara Neshu Vidagdo Vehinu Vadya Urudani Jashiksha Tava Sutasati Yadadara Bimbe Data Veno Anayat Swarajati. The gopi said to Mother Yashoda, Mother Yashoda was worried. Why is my boy late? He's not returning on time. But Gopi said, hey Yashoda, Tavasuta Sati, oh chaste lady, your son, Vivida Gopesha Charnesha Vidagdo, he's Vidagda, he's expert in all the arts of coward boys. Coward boys know wrestling, swimming, climbing trees, fighting with sticks. But one coward boy art is playing the flute. So Vivida Vada Urudani Jashiksha, Krishna plays his flute in many different ways. He plays in so many ragas, nija shiksha, that no one taught him these ragas. He taught himself amazing ragas that no one has heard before, in such a way that Kashmalam Yayo Anishchita Tattva, Lord Brahma and Shiva and Indra, they're expert in music because the Gandharvas in heaven, they do performances for Indra. So he's a connoisseur of musical performances. Ordinary person, they cannot appreciate music so much. One who is a very trained musician can understand the whole arrangement of the notes. So Brahma is expert in music. His wife is Sarasvati, who plays Veena. Shiva is expert in music. And Indra is expert in music. But when they hear Krishna play the flute, gopis are telling Mother Yashoda, they listen, what rag is that? And they're trying to, but they cannot identify it. And Brahma, Shiva and Indra all, Kashman Yayo and Nishchita Tattva, being able to understand the tattva of this raga, then they all bow their heads in shame. We are neophyte, we are beginners. We don't know anything about music, not like Krishna. Krishna knows. So he's Nija Shiksha. Gopis are saying he taught himself. But the truth is, he didn't teach himself. Radhikara Prema Guru Amishishanat. Krishna said, I am the artistic student of Radhika's prema. And so what taught him to play such a divine melody? It's his anubhav, his response to the love in the heart of Radhika, has caused the manifestation of such emotions in Krishna, which have never, even Krishna himself has never experienced such emotions before. Krishna himself has not experienced such emotions before. In real time, hearing his own flute, Krishna becomes surprised. This is why Uddhav has said, Yan marchali lopaika swayoga maya balam dashaita grihitam vismapanam swasya sobagade paramparam bhushana bhushanangam. He said, he was speaking with Vidura. Uddhav said, oh, when Krishna was in this world, then he manifested such beauty by the bal, the power of Yoga Maya. Krishna is transcendental. How can he even appear in this world? Only Yoga Maya can manifest him here. And Yoga Maya is the power to make the impossible possible. So at that time, Krishna's beauty, he was so beautiful, it's impossible to be that beautiful. Yan Marchalila Upayika Kamsa Yoga. And it was Marchalila Upayogi. That means suitable for human-like pastimes. It was not a four-arm form. It was not half man, half lion. It was a simple cowherd boy, decorated with feathers, peacock feathers, gunja berries for earrings, and flowers from the forest. His body painted with gairika dhatu, minerals from the stones of Kamyavan. Very simple. Walking in the forest barefoot, so charming, human-like pastimes. But that form of Krishna, Vismapanam Swasya Chasobagade, he was so beautiful, his ornaments don't make him more beautiful. He makes his ornaments more beautiful. He's the ornament of his ornaments. Vismapanam Swasya. Swasya means of his own, even his own expansions became astonished. You know that when Lord Brahma came to Braj, he tried to steal the cowherd boys. But Krishna became all the cowherd boys and the calves. And when Brahma came, how are the boys and the calves still here? Then Yogamaya showed to Brahma some opulences of Krishna. And each of the millions of calves and each of the millions of boys manifested four-armed Narayan Swarup. There were millions of four-armed Narayan, and they're all expansions of Krishna. And seeing this, we all know that Brahma was amazed. Aho bhagyam nanda gopa bhajokasam yan mitram paramanandam purna brahma sanatanam. How fortunate is Nanda Maharaj. How fortunate are the Brijvasis that the Purna Brahma, the complete, absolute, unlimited, supreme truth has become their family member. Brahma could not. He was amazed. Brahma seeing this display of opulence, Brahma was completely amazed. But what people often don't miss is when all those forms of Narayan manifest to amaze Brahma, those forms of Narayan looked at Krishna as a cowherd boy, and all the forms of Narayan were amazed. This cowherd boy form is so beautiful. So Uddhav later, after Krishna had disappeared from this world, he was crying. He said, Vismapanam swasya chasobadage darde sobagade. It means that Krishna is so beautiful. He's the ornament of his ornaments, and even his own expansions became astonished seeing him. If Brahma is astonished, then what is that? Of course, it's something huge, but relative to Lord Narayan, Vaikuntha is nothing. The expansion of Lord Narayan is Mahavishnu, and millions of Lord Brahmas emanate from the pores of the skin of Mahavishnu. So if Brahma is amazed. But all those Narayan forms were amazed seeing this cowherd boy. He's so beautiful. Or Vismapanam Swasya means that even Krishna, the cowherd boy, seeing his own reflection, he is amazed. Krishna Ramaduri Krishna Upajaya Lob Samyak Ashwadite Rahe Rahiman Ekshob Samyak Ashwadite Nahe Rahiman Ekshob. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Pad said, Krishna's beauty is so sweet that even Krishna's greed becomes awakened seeing his own reflection. But because he cannot taste it fully, then his mind is disturbed. Krishna doesn't like it when he has a desire that's not fulfilled. And this is why he has now appeared as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And that desire to taste his own sweetness is fulfilled right now. Just chanting Hare Krishna, alone in the Gambhira, he heard the sound of Krishna's flute, and poof, by Yogamaya, he ran. Through the doors, through the walls, miraculously. and became unconscious. So Swarup Damodar Goswami sang this verse, Kastranga te katalabdaya Benu Gita Samoitat Charitam Nachalet Trilokyam. Here, one of the meanings is this. You see, in the second two lines it said that Krishna is so beautiful, he is millions of times more beautiful than all the beauty in all the worlds. And that his beauty causes the cows and even the trees to tremble. So Kastrangate, what to speak of any woman? So Gopis are saying to Krishna that if there is a chaste woman, then, or a group of very chaste religious women, and they come to a place, and then one very beautiful male person comes into that assembly, and they're around, then what happens? They become afraid. They all become struck with fear and tremble, and they immediately want to leave that place because it's inappropriate to even be there. So by Kim Uta, the Braj Gopis are saying, the sound of your flute and your beauty is such that what to speak of humans, even the animals, even the trees, they are trembling. So what to speak of any chaste lady? If you will be in their assembly, then they will start to tremble and they understand we should immediately leave. So Gopis are saying to Krishna, so now we are trembling in fear seeing you and we're going to leave now. They're teasing Krishna. Krishna said to the gopis, because previously they said, Vakshasriyai Karamanam cha Bhavamedasya. Lakshmi Devi has left Lord Narayan, has a form of a golden lion on your chest. Krishna said, you know persons who have a wicked heart, they always see faults in others and speak about the faults of others. Why are you criticizing Lakshmi Devi? Lakshmi Devi has no fault, but you are criticizing her. That is this is just an auspicious birthmark. I have this auspicious birthmark on my chest, and you are using this as an excuse to find fault with Lakshmi Devi, and you're making offense to her. So Gopis are saying, Kastranga te kalapadayat kivenu gita sammohitarya charitam nachalet trilokyam. In the three worlds, even Lakshmi Devi, you can, by your flute and by your beauty, you have destroyed her religiosity. She left everything and she came here to Vrindavan wanting to associate with you. But she is to this day crying because she did not have that opportunity. So then Gopis are saying, Oh Krishna, your flute is a Siddha Yogini. A Yogini means female yogi, and a Siddha Yogini means a female yogi who has done so much austerities that they've developed yoga siddhis, mystic powers. And so there is a Siddha Yogini. She may have some powerful mantras. And these mantras are called Uchchatana mantra. So there are different types of mantras. For example, one is called Akarshana. Akarshana mantra means a mantra that brings a person to the person who is chanting the mantra. It attracts them. There is a Vasikaran mantra, a mantra by which a Siddha yogi can bring you under their control. So one type of mantra is called Uchchatana mantra. Uchchatana mantra means the mantra that makes you forget all your responsibilities. So, by this verse, Braj Gopis are saying, Oh Krishna, we think that your flute is a Siddha Yogini. And she has Uchchatana mantra. So that when she begins to sing, then Sammohitarya Charitam Nachaletri Lokam. What woman in all the worlds would not forget all of her responsibilities and be deviated from the Arya Pat? So, Krishna and Mahaprabhu, remember, he's come back to the Gambhira with Swarup Damodar and others who found him lying outside the Jagannath temple. Mahaprabhu said, he was crying, and in the mood of Radhika, Mahaprabhu said, Anya kata, anya man, bahire anya acharan, e saba shata paripahati. Means anya kata. Krishna, you are saying one thing, anya man, but in your mind you're thinking something else. Bahire anya acharan, and outwardly the way that you behave is something else. So, a saba shata paripati. This is the paripati. This is the method of behavior of Shat. Shat means a cheater, a cunning, tricky person. Shat means a person who says one thing to your face and does something else behind your back. So, Krishna, you are like this. Anya kata, anya man, anya acharan. The way you behave is one thing, the way you speak is one thing, and the way you think is another thing. Tumi Janapari. Why? Because Krishna called all the Braj Gopis by playing his flute. And by this verse, the Gopis are saying, by the playing of your flute, you deliberately destroyed our Dharma. And when we came here, you told us, oh Gopis, you should follow Dharma. And go home. And as Krishna was telling them, follow Dharma and go home and serve your husband, he's smiling and moving his eyebrows. So Gopis are saying, Anya kata, anya man, bahya anya acharan. Your behavior is saying one thing, your words are saying another thing, and in your heart you're thinking something else. What kind of shot are you? What kind of tricky person are you? Tumi jana parihas. Gopi said, this what is happening to us right now. This was a very cleverly planned trick of yours. You thought it all out what you would do. You planned this trick and brought us into this trap. So Tumi jana parihas, you know very well how to tease us, and you made a plan to do this. Hai narira sarvanash, and you know how to completely destroy the life of a woman. And also actually Gopis are saying that their own buddhi, their intelligence has been destroyed because they just cannot deal with this crooked person whose mind is one thing, his words are another, and his behavior is another. And their intelligence is buddhinash, destroyed. So, chada e sabakutinati. Chada e sabakutinati. By this verse, Gopis are saying, oh Krishna, give up all this duplicity. Why? Because his words are saying, go home. His eyes are saying, stay here. His words are saying, follow Dharma, but his flute is destroying their Dharma. But in his heart, Krishna does not want them to leave. So that's why this is also a verse of Pranay Geet. Pranay means the love when you know the other person's heart. So even though Krishna is telling them to go home, and even though he's teasing them, he just wants to make them cry and see what they'll say. But the gopis, because their love is so intense, they think the worst thing. His words have two meanings. One meaning is stay, one meaning is go. But they take the meaning go because love makes you think the worst thing may happen. Anishta sankini bandhuridayani bhavantihi. But even though they think that Krishna is really telling them to go home, they think that he's saying this because he's shy. He's too shy to accept us. He cannot. And so pranay, one aspect of pranay is also called vishramba, faith. Mano dadano vishwambham. Pranay, prochate bodai. The learned persons say that level of love which is known as pranay is when the contrary mood of man becomes imbued with confidence and faith. And that faith is, Krishna, you cannot reject us. You cannot reject us. You cannot give us up. You cannot neglect us. You love us. We know you love us. And you may be shy and you may be afraid to accept us. But we know in the core of your heart, You want to. You cannot give us up. And that's why they're crying and saying this Kastranga te kalat padayate venu gita. And only our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed the sweet bhav of the gopis. Anya kata anya man bahire anya acharan. Your behavior is one thing, your words are one thing, and your mind is another. You planned this trick on us, but just one thing. Chado e sabakuti nati. Now give up all your duplicity. That means just accept us. We have come here to serve you, to dance with you in a Rasalila. So don't delay anymore. Sanatana Goswami gives an interesting commentary. He said, when the gopis were quarreling with Krishna in this way, then Krishna was listening. In 10 verses, Krishna told them to go home, and in 11 verses, gopis cut all of his suggestions to pieces. But then, just as gopis spoke the 11th verse, Radharani arrived there. And so the reason Krishna was passing some time with the teasing, because he saw all the gopis had come, but Radharani had not come yet. And so he teased them, and when he saw Radharani came, then he gave up his duplicity and he began wrestling. Bhagavatam has so many secrets. And not one pastime. This same pastime, our acharyas realized in their trance the same words, but different meanings and different pastimes in different ways. So then, Mahaprabhu, he said, Venu nadamrita gole, amrita samana mita bole, amrita saman, bhushana sinjita, tinna amrita harikhan, harimana hare pran, kemane nari dekibe kochita. Speaking in the mood of Braj Gopis, Mahaprabhu said, the sound of your flute is amrita. The sound of your words is amrita. And the jingling of your ornaments is amrita. And tina amrita harikan hariman haripran. How beautiful. Tina amrite harikan harimana haripran. Kemane nari dari beikochita. The 3 nectars of your flute, of your voice, and your ornaments. They have stolen my ears, they have stolen my man, my heart, and they have stolen my pran. How can a woman even remain conscious in the presence of your flute song? And that is how Mahaprabhu, he fell unconscious outside the Jagannath temple. So Mahaprabhu said, Kaha Saki ki kari upay. O Saki. Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar are Lalita and Vishaka. So he's speaking from the perspective of their spiritual forms. Kaha Saki. O Saki, tell me, what can I do? Krishna say Shabda Gun. Harile Amakane. The quality of Krishna's sound has stolen my sense of hearing. Ebi na pai Krishna Mari Yug, and now I am dying of thirst. E Shabdamrita Chari Yarahai Bhagya Bhari Sekhani Iya Karipupan Iya Ye Nahi Shune Sekhana Janmilo Kene Kanakari Samasekan. Mahaprabhu said, only those ears that can hear the Shabdamrita Chari, 4 nectars, flute, voice, laughter as Krishna is joking with the Sakhis, and the jingling of his ornaments, a Shabdamrita Chari. Only a fortunate person can hear that sound. And if you have ears, but you don't hear this sound, then if you look at your ear, it's like a whirl. And if you look at the conch shell, it's also like a whirl. So your ear has a whirl and your conch shell has a whirl. But the difference is, your ear can hear and the conch shell is deaf. So Mahaprabhu is saying, but if you have an ear that can hear, but you don't hear this Chari Shabda Amrita, 4 sound nectars, then your ears, they are the same as a conch shell. Useless. Your ears are useless if you cannot hear this. So Mahaprabhu was, now because his spurti was broken, then he was criticizing himself. Alas, alas, my ears are dying of thirst. They are just like conch shells because I am not drinking this nectar. How astonishing. One day, it was the full moon night in the month of Vaishak, April or May. And Mahaprabhu went to the house of Ramananda Rai. Who has been there? I am inviting everyone, please come for Braj Mandal Parikrama in Kartik time and then in the springtime. Please join us for Navadip Dham Parikrama. If you hear the katha in the places where the Leela is actually taking place even now today, the effect is more powerful. The samskar will change your life forever. So Mahaprabhu, he went there and there's a beautiful garden where flowers are grown and fruits are grown to offer to Lord Jagannath. So it's called Jagannath Ballabh Batika. So Mahaprabhu entered into the garden and all the trees were blossoming because it was springtime. Swarms of bumblebees were humming. The creepers were just like Beli, Chameli, Jui, Madhavi of Vrindavan. And the trees were full of Sukansari, male and female parrots. And the peekabirds, cuckoos, they were all talking with each other. A gentle breeze was blowing, carrying the aroma of the flowers. Now that garden has become somewhat small and encroached upon. But I remember when I was young, walking through that garden with my Gurudev. And he was pointing out the names of different flowers. And then showing which flower is connected with which pastime. So he picked one flower and it was a Nag Champak. And the shape is like a snake. And he said, if gopis are upset with Krishna, then they give Krishna this. And it means you are a snake. You are very crooked like a snake. So Mahaprabhu, he was walking through that garden and the breeze was blowing and the breeze was making all the creepers dance. They were illuminated by the full moon. And Mahaprabhu was delighted. And he told his associates to sing. And all of his associates, they began to sing together. Excuse me, I have a call. Lalita labanga, lata parishilana, komalamalaya samihire, marukarnikara, karambita kokila, kudita kunja, kutihari, biarati hari, sarasavasante, Nritati yuvati janhena samam saki birahi janasya durante lalita labanga lata parishilana komalamalaya samihire. And Mahaprabhu was so overjoyed hearing this song of the Sakis of Srimati Radhika, describing the sweetness of the forest of Vrindavan in the springtime. And as Mahaprabhu was wandering around, looking at every tree and creeper, looking for Krishna, suddenly beneath an Ashok tree, then Mahaprabhu saw Krishna. And Mahaprabhu began to gather speed and he was running in the direction of Krishna. And just as he was arriving there, Krishna smiled and disappeared. And at once, Mahaprabhu, feeling the shock of the disappearance of Krishna, he fell to the ground unconscious. And at that moment, all the devotees, they ran there. And they began to loudly chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, And by chanting, Mahaprabhu gradually came into external consciousness. And even though Krishna disappeared, but on that day, Mahaprabhu and other devotees also experienced that the fragrance of Sri Krishna had spread everywhere throughout the garden. His fragrance was still there. And Mahaprabhu, he became like a bumblebee. And he was running around the garden, sniffing, like a bumblebee. And it did not matter how much he was sniffing. The fragrance of Krishna causes one to be attracted. But then, it does not matter how much one sniffs. One always feels that I did not sniff it, I have to sniff again and again. It is ever fresh and ever new. So Mahaprabhu, he was said to his devotees, see Krishna's body is like 8 lotus flowers. What is that? 2 lotus eyes, lotus face, lotus navel, lotus hands 2, and lotus feet. So from these 8 lotuses of Krishna, a beautiful fragrance emanates, which defeats the fragrance of agur, oud, defeats the fragrance of kasturi, defeats the fragrance of a blue lotus flower. And Krishna's whole body also is smeared with sandalwood paste, smeared with karpur. Some karpur, that means camphor, is mixed with the sandalwood paste, and smeared with agur, and also kasturi. And so these fragrances, chatusam and kumkum, they are smeared on his body and it mixes with his natural fragrance also. And creates such a fragrance which steals away even the mind of Cupid. So Mahaprabhu said, Na pale Krishna mariyai. My 2 nostrils have become mad and they are dying. So before he said, my eyes are dying of thirst, my ears are dying of thirst, my tongue is dying of thirst. Now his nose is dying of thirst. Because our subject is the Purna, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Madhurya, Amrita, Ashwardan, which is this Gaura Lila. One at a time. Why? Because due to Anurag, they cannot all be experienced at once. So Mahaprabhu said, Krishna is Madan Mohan. His fragrance can cause millions of cupids to faint. And that Madan Mohan Krishna has opened a scent shop, a perfumery. Madan Mohan has opened a perfumery. And he made advertisements. Especially ladies are very interested in perfume. So he made an advertisement, oh ladies, special offer in my shop. Our perfumes are free for ladies. So, Mahaprabhu, he's speaking in the mood of Radhika and said, because Radhika herself has said that Saurabhyamrita samplavabhara jagat piyusha ramyadara. If one particle of the scent of Krishna enters into a person's nose, then they experience that fragrance everywhere in the universe. That it's everywhere. That the fragrance of Krishna has pervaded the whole universe. Others won't experience. But the gopis in their prem, they have that experience. And she said that Krishna opened a shop. Madan Mohan said, I am opening a scent shop. Come and take a free sample. And Radhika said, and when the ladies come for their free sample, they become blind and they cannot find their way home. This is the Gandha Madhuri Amrita, Aswadan of Mahaprabhu. So Krishna's Kaviraj says, Ei Mata Gaura Hari, Gandha Koila Manachuri, Bringapai Iti Utadai. In this way, Gaura Hari, his heart was stolen by the fragrance of Krishna, and becoming like a bumblebee, he was running around the garden. Have you seen a bumblebee in a garden? They're going here from flower to flower to flower. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became like this. And therefore, Mahaprabhu has appeared in this world and told to everyone, Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purna Amrita Ashwadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate. So don't think that if I chant Hare Krishna, then maybe I'll have Krishna's darshan. You know, like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was standing on one leg, he was fasting. He even gave up eating, drinking, sleeping. He even gave up breathing. And then after 6 months, the Om Namo Bhagavate, he was chanting this mantra and the Lord appeared in his heart and then disappeared. Yes, that's his nature. Chanchal Svabhav. But when he opened his eyes, Dhruva saw that the Lord was in front of him. But this is not Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritasvadanam. When Mahaprabhu says complete victory for Harinam Sankirtanam, it does not mean chant the holy name and you will have darshan of Krishna like Dhruva Maharaj. No, this is not the Param Vijayate. This is not the Sarvatma Snapanam Param. Mahaprabhu is giving the Prem Nam Sankirtanam by which there is Pratipadam Purna Amritasvadanam, the complete relishment of the Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha of Sri Krishna, as Mahaprabhu himself is showing through each and every one of these pastimes. This is the supreme glory of Harinam Sankirtan. And it is only by taking shelter of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Note this point. When the Swarabdamra and the devotees chanted Harinam and Mahaprabhu came out back to his normal form again, he said, I saw Krishna playing a flute and I saw he called Radhika and Radha Krishna entered into a kunj. And hearing the sound, I was attracted and I followed them. And you see this several times in Gaura Leela, that he said, I saw Radha and Krishna and the Sakhis. When the time when he fell into the ocean, that time he said, oh, I was with the Sakhis on the bank of Jamuna. And Radha Krishna were playing in the water. And when they came out, we dried them and decorated them. And then they went to a kunj to take some fruit and then rest. And I was with the Sakhis and they all lay down outside the kunj. So, though Gaura Hari, Mahaprabhu, appeared in this world to realize Radha Bhav, but in many of these episodes, Mahaprabhu is not in Radha Bhav. He said himself, I was among the Sakhis. So Mahaprabhu is relishing Radha Bhav, but he's also relishing Sakhi Bhav and especially Manjari Bhav, the mood of the maidservants of Radhika. So, you may say, but it says in the Shastra, Radha Bhava Jyoti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Surupam. He came to relish Radha Bhav, but you are saying he's relishing Manjari Bhav. This is not a contradiction. This is not a contradiction. Why? Because Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabiya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabi. See, Krishna is the relishing Ananda Chinmay Rasa. Ananda means Radhika, and Chin, Samvit, is Krishna. So the rasa that manifests by the meeting of the predominating deity of Samvit Shakti Krishna and the predominating deity of Ladini Shakti Radhika is called Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Pratibhavita, and Prati means in return. Krishna is infusing Radhika with rasa, and Radhika is infusing Krishna with rasa. And Radha and Krishna are infusing the Sakhis with rasa. Nija Rupataya Kalabi. Radhika is Krishna's own second form, the manifestation of his Shakti. And Kalabi and all the gopis are the kala. They are the portions and the portions and portions of Radhika's mood. So Radhika is Purna Shakti, and all the other gopis are her own moods. They are the murtis of her emotions who have taken forms. So Mahabhav Chintamani Radhara Swarup Lalitadi Saki Tara Kaya Vyuharup. Radharani is the Mahabhav, embodiment of Mahabhav Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling jewel of love that fulfills all the desires of Krishna. And to fulfill all of his desires, she has Kaya Vyuha, her own bodily expansions. And they are Lalita and Vishaka and other gopis. So they are, Mahaprabhu is relishing Radhabhav. That means to relish from the point of view of Radhika and to relish from the point of view of Radhika's individual bhavs, which have their murtis. Like Ramananda Rai, he said, Madhya Bayasa Saki Skanda Karanyas Krishna Leela Manobriti Saki Ashapash. Krishna Leela Manobriti Saki Ashapash. In Krishna Leela, Radhika has Manobriti. Manobriti means movements of her mind. Just like you. You have Chittavriti. You have so many thoughts. So, what would it be like if each one of your thoughts had a murti and was running around? Perhaps don't think of that. But here, Ramananda Rai said, Krishna Leela Manobriti, the individual thoughts of Radharani, Saki Ashapash, have taken the form of Sakis and they're running here and there. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 8. And so, that Krishna is relishing Radhabhav in Gaura Leela. Means he's relishing Radhabhav and the portions of Radhika's Bhav also. How is this Radhabhav? Radharani said, Ye nari re banche Krishna, tara rupa satrishna, tara na pai hoi duki, mui tara paya padi, hatiloya jadahani, krida karantara murasuki. Radharani said, oh, whatever Krishna does, he's my pran. I don't judge it. My love has no terms and conditions. Krishna can break my heart or he can make me most fortunate, whatever he wants. I accept it because he does it. Because he is my pran. And if Krishna is feeling sad because he's very greedy, he's thirsty to meet with another woman. Ye narere vanche Krishna, tare rupe satrishna. Krishna is thirsty to relish the beauty of another woman. But he's sad because he cannot meet with her. Then mui tara payapadi, I'll go to her house and become her maidservant. And I'll fall at her feet. I'll do her housework. So I cannot meet with Krishna, I have so many responsibilities. Don't worry, I'll help you finish everything quickly and then we'll go. Krida karan, tara karan suki. And then I'll take her by the hand and bring her through the forest to meet with Krishna. And when I push her into the kunj to meet with Krishna, and she plays with Krishna, then I'll know my true happiness. Radharani herself said it. Mahaprabhu himself spoke these words. So Radhika, one of the bhavs of Radhika is, if there is some very beautiful lady whom Krishna feels separation from, and without her, he is suffering, then I want to be her dasi. So that bhav of Radhika is manifest in the form of her dasis, because she is that female heroine without whom Krishna cannot live, for whom Krishna is thirsty at every moment. But that bhav of pure love, aslisyava padaratam pinastu mama darshanam mama tam kurotuva, that's Radhika's bhav, wanting to be her own maidservant. And it manifests in the form of Rupa Manjari, and all the other Manjaris are the expansions of Rupa Manjari. And so when Mahaprabhu comes to this world and gives Harinam, and through this Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga, the Harikatha of Ragamag, Rupanuga Harikatha, then by this the samskars come to chant the holy name following these inner moods of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one of which is the Radha Dasyam. And then the devotee becomes insane. Ha Gaur, Bhaja Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, Laha Gauranga Namare, Ye Jana Gauranga Bhaja Seha, Hoy Amar Pranare. Do bhajan of Gaura, sing of Gaura, chant the name of Gaura. Anyone who is a devotee of Gaura is my pran, I cannot live without them. Because in the perfected state, then we realize ourselves as a particle of Mahaprabhu's own bhav, as a particle of Radhika's bhav. Now we have mamata for this body and this mind, possessiveness for this world. We identify with things here. But ananya mamata Vishnu, mamata prema sangata. When prema comes, it's full of extremely condensed possessiveness. Samyan masranita swanto mamata tishayankita. Excessively intense possessiveness is there in prema. Because one will literally become a particle of the heart of Radhika. In the bhav to serve that heroine whom Krishna is thirsting for and be her dasi. So anarpita charim chirat karunayavartinaha kalo samarpaitum unnata ujjvala rasam swabhakti sriyam. Mahaprabhu came to give. Unnata ujjvala rasa is Radhika's love. No one can have that. But swabhakti sriyam, the beauty of Radhika's love. We can give the example, like Gurudev used to say, just like a lotus flower is beautiful and fragrant. And in the center of the whorl of the lotus flower, there is the parag. Parag. Parag means the tiny particles of fragrant pollen. So swabhakti sriyam, the beauty of Radhika's prem, means her heart is like a lotus and you become a tiny particle of fragrant pollen of the heart of Srimati Radhika. That is the Sri, the beauty of Radhika's heart. Prabodhananda Saraswati has given other metaphors. Sri Radha Pada Padma Chavi Madrataya Prema Chis Jyotire Kambu De Udbhuta Pinastava Kamayitanum Sarva Vaidagjapurna Kaishora Vyanditas Tad Ganaruga Pagana Shri Chamatkara Bhajo Divya Alankara Vasta Anusarasa Sake Radhika Kinkaristaha. He said the kinkaris, the maidservants of Srimati Radhika, they are decorated in Divya Alankar, divine ornaments and cloth. Why? This is Radhika's prasadi. When the Manjari serve Radhika, she becomes so pleased and said, oh, come here. And gives her own earrings, gives sometimes her own necklace. So on different occasions, every ornament has some connection and memory with some beautiful pastime. Divyalankara Vastra. So who will not follow those kinkaris? Kinkari. Kim karomi. Means, what can I do for you? Those maidservants of Radhika's whole life is just Kim karomi. What can I do for you? Who will not follow such persons? Because Sri Radha Pada Padmi Chavi Madurataya, the lotus feet of Radhika are so beautiful. And the prem, the rays of prem are emanating from her lotus feet. And these rays become condensed and become like an ocean. And the waves in this ocean crash and send foam into the air. And the clusters of bubbles of foam from the waves of the ocean of love at the lotus feet of Radhika. Stabakamaya Tanu. That is the bodies of the Manjaris. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur is saying, Stabakamayi Tanu Sarva Vaidagya Purna, being complete in all the arts of singing, dancing, cooking, decorating, joking, playing musical instruments. The foam from the ocean of love of the lotus feet of Radhika, those are the Manjari Swarup. Or we can say the parag, the particle of the pollen in the lotus of Radhika's heart. All these metaphors acharyas have used to show what type of sambandha, vishesh sambandha, special intense relationship each and every one of our acharyas in this world, who has come to this world in our parampara, they have this relationship. And if we are fortunate, Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevale Pakati Sadma, we take shelter at the lotus feet of such Sadguru and try to become such Shishya. And then we may also be enveloped into that divine Leela. Then one can be called Gaudiya, otherwise not. 18 Thakur Gaudiyaki Koryachin Atmasat. 18 Charna Bandhan Tinemoranat. Srila Krishna's Karaj Goswami Pad said, Madan Mohan. You know, the shopkeeper who makes you blind? Madan Mohan. Govinda, Gopinath, who's playing his Sriman Rasa Sarambi Bansi Bhatt, who plays his flute at Bansi Bhatt. That person whom Govinda, Gopinath and Madan Mohan have enveloped into their divine reality is called the Gaudiya. That is a Gaudiya Vaishnava. So Mahaprabhu and our Guru Parampara give us this opportunity. Don't do anything else. Itara raga vismarnam rinam. The nectar of Krishna's lips makes everyone forget everything else. So this is the greatest gift. Life is short. Do or die. Gaura Premanande. So Pujari, please come and offer